Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to GAIS, the Reading Circle, with your host Abdullah Suji. It is the first program for the year 2023. It is always an invigorating experience to read a person's book and then to meet the author online and perhaps live as well. The GAIS Reading Circle is unique to the world because we make the effort of identifying an author that is relevant, relative, in sync with education on a global fit, on a global setting. Then we try to meet the author. And in meeting with the author, we strike up a conversation prior to even reading the book. So we get to feel the author. Thereafter, we read the book. And in reading the book, we involve ourselves in understanding the mind of the author in what prompted this type of a book. Alhamdulillah, this is the fifth reading circle. And my guest this afternoon in South Africa and the world over, there are different time zones. And as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at the majestic ocean, the harbor of Durban. It's a sweltering day here in Durban, but Alhamdulillah, it's beautiful. And I must say, the guest list makes it even more attractive. I'm talking to Brother Adil Zubairi, and he's written a book called Artificial Intelligence Insights from Within. Now, what makes this book interesting is something that we're going to actually identify with. And we are going to understand, the reasons for this type of a book in the 21st century. However, many of you listening in or perhaps viewing this entire program live will understand that the fourth industrial revolution has taken the world by storm. But remember, the spinning jenny also took the world by storm. And that was replaced until the steam engine came in. And that took the world by storm. And it's continuing and continuing. What the future holds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But it was Ali radiallahu anhum who made us understand that we must teach children for the times in which they live in. And really, we are living in dynamic times. I want to now call my guest on, Brother Adil. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome onto GIIS Reading Circle, the first for the year 2023.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, you look very young, my brother.
I am, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. My brother, before we begin, although I would like to give a biography of yourself, but for the sake of the listeners, for the sake of the viewers, who is Adil Zubairi? Where does he come from? Where does he hail from? What is his background? What is his pedigree? Please, let's begin there, my brother.
So, I've got a very curious case for myself. I am originally from Pakistan, and currently I live in the United Kingdom. And my educational journey is started from an undergraduate in mechatronics engineering. That is where I get my love for technology and my the how the future is going to be part of my personality. And then I did my master's in educational leadership and management from the University of Nottingham. And then I've also done some the traditional Dars in Islamic curriculum also from Pakistan. And then I was working for an NGO there in an educational setting and a youth empowerment setting. And then when I moved to the UK, I worked for a charity here, which is a global charity. I was working at the Africa desk. So I have got extensive experience in Africa. I've visited many countries, stayed there for quite a time. East Africa, West Africa. And then now I am at the Asia-Europe desk, where primarily my role is to monitor projects, educational and development projects in Asia and the Europe region.
Mashallah. Do continue.
Yeah. So apart from that, I like reading and writing. So there's a wide variety of subjects I'm interested in, and in 3 languages. So Arabic, English, and Urdu. So that is what molds my perspective of the world. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So I'm talking to a multifaceted human being. Shall I say I'm talking to Adil Zubairi, a man for all seasons. Alhamdulillah. Listeners, viewers, we have an exciting program here this afternoon, as I said, in sunny South Africa and the world over at different times. Now, this book, Artificial Intelligence Insights from Within, you know, I found the book intriguing to say the least. I feel the audience should know what led you to write this book, because it's not every day that we get this thought to write a book. And here you're writing a book which is not very lengthy but is very deep. So, what led you to write the book Artificial Intelligence Insights from Within?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Basically, I do a lot of writing for myself. Yeah. So every book that I read on different topics, I usually come up with a review or a summary of that book. I post it on the internet. So when I'm writing it, there's a lot of resources that are required, and there are many tools that we use, many spell check tools like Grammarly, very famous. Everyone uses it. So that is what I was using when one of my colleagues told me that there's this software that can that's Grammarly on steroids. So I was a bit skeptical in the beginning, but when he introduced it to me and I started using it, that is when I got to know that whatever we had studied about artificial intelligence, it's there knocking at our doors now. Yeah, and so that is when I got to know about the GPT-3 and 3.5. That's the language learning model that software used. That software was not Chat GPT. Chat GPT was not launched by then. Is basically Right Sonic. It's a genre of softwares that's copyright softwares. They're called copyright softwares, and there's a wide variety of them. But uh, Right Sonic was the one that I was using, and then it clicked onto me that many people that don't know how powerful this is, and what the future is going to be like. So I just wanted to share, and then with the world what how powerful this is going to be. So that is where I had the idea of writing a book, especially on artificial intelligence.
That's a very good explanation, in depth and to the point. And really, when I read the book, I realized just how much artificial intelligence can be used to shape our thinking as well. But that's for later in the program. So, Brother Adil, I must tell you, the book opens, and I'm sure you know it. The book opens with the declaration, shall I say, that it was the only part written by a human, but the rest, including the cover page, was suggested, and I'm repeating this, the rest was suggested by AI. This makes me think that authoring a book today has become so much easier, but more interesting, I would say. So discuss you know, why you prompted AI to sort of become a co-author. And as an author myself, I realized there is so much that goes into authoring a book. Take us on the journey.
Yes, so as I told you, I just wanted to share how powerful AI is. Yeah. So what would be the point of manifesting that power when you can show someone that from cover to cover a book has been written by a computer? Yeah. There's no human involvement, although there is human involvement at the prompting stage, but and everything else is basically done by artificial intelligence. And the content that I wanted to include in the book was to just to make people understand what is myth and what is fiction, what's reality, where does the mythology of artificial intelligence end, and where does its uses and its practical applications start. And that's why it's a bit dry in the middle of the book, because it talks about how artificial intelligence is functions, and the different models that are used. It's very theoretical in the middle, but I had no other option, because the computer was writing it. Yeah. So I just could guide it, and there were many times I would love to enter my own 2 cents into it, but because at the beginning of the book, I decided that I wanted the whole book to be written by AI. So uh, what was missing from the discussions that I had with people regarding AI was that they had no understanding of the nuts and bolts of AI. Yeah, so either they thought it was like something out of science fiction, Hollywood, or they would brush it aside as an autocorrect formula or autocorrect software or something of that sort. So the main purpose was to lay out what AI is and how it can be used. At the end of the day, it's a tool, and how it can be used in our daily lives. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And, you know, I got this imagery of a man walking a dog, and then the dog leads the way. But there's some point, and I would say many points, where the dog is pulled and is directed again. However, writing with AI, it's sort of a similar kind of feeling because the human factor is so paramount. Now, I'm a teacher of English as well, and I love poetry. And you say in the beginning, the poem grabs my attention of the reader in that it gives us a sense that human AI is man's own invention, and it has also become man's nemesis, but a tool nonetheless to engage now and to engage with in the future. Why then would it be that a poem sets the scene in a book that's largely, to my understanding, a scholarly one, and it is more like a textbook. However, poems come in the beginning. Was that your prompting, or was it something you wanted us to know?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. I appreciate your in-depth analysis of the book. That poem was there for a very very important purpose. As I've told you, the main purpose of the book is to jolt the reader out of its slumber. Yeah. So we're sleeping and we don't understand what the AI revolution. That's not knocking on the doors. It's inside the doors now. Yeah, it's here, and it's on our in our daily lives. So, and literature, as you know, you're an English teacher, you know better than me. It is so human to us. Yeah, it touches the soul. It is what distinguishes us from animals, or it's the ability of humans to express emotions. Yeah, in a way that touches the soul, touches the rational, not the rational part of humans. It touches the other half of humans that we call the soul, the spirit, whatever you want to call it. So, but at the end of the day, you can see a sophisticated pattern recognizing tool, artificial intelligence, can imitate that also. So
Absolutely. If
yeah,
I could just interject there, if I could just interject there, because I love that point you make. So
yeah.
when you realize that AI is so sophisticated, did it diminish you as the author, or you felt no, I have more control?
No, I had decided at the beginning of the book that I want to give AI the driving seat. Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, you
Okay.
can use it as a tool. You can use it as a tool. You can go. You can use it whenever you want, wherever there's you're a writer. You know that the writer's block.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you're just stuck. So you can use these tools to overcome all of these things. But sorry, in my case, I had decided to, the main purpose of the book is for the reader to understand, that AI is not knocking at the door, it's inside the door. Yeah. And so that's the reason why I did not allow myself to you know author anything inside the main body of the book.
So this first poem again, tell us more about it, because I want the listeners to understand and the viewers to also understand that it's there for a specific reason to gain insight into the scholarly stuff that's deeper in the book.
Yes, yes. Because sometimes, we get lost in the nuts and bolts and we don't understand the bigger picture here. So what AI has done to society, because the book is all about the intricacies of artificial intelligence and how it functions. But the poem, when it starts, and you see it what I really did was I basically asked software to write 10 poems. And out of the 10 poems, I selected these three. And the signaling that the poem was to do was basically to show, number one, the power of AI, that it can imitate human behavior to an extent where you can't distinguish between human behavior and computer behavior. And it's to tell us how creativity, thought of as a human thing. We think of creativity and the creative arts as a human thing. All the
Mhm.
foundations have to be rethought now. Yeah. Uh,
Absolutely.
yes, literature and its foundations have to be redesigned, restructured, because now literature is has a computer generated text infused into it, and many places you can't even distinguish between where the human raw author finishes and where the computer takes over. And at the end, I just wanted to signal from this, reading the poem. I know you would have had the same feeling. Okay, well, how can a computer write such a good poem, and the content is so touching, where it says that I'm a computer, I don't have a soul, yet I can give you a lot of information. So these are things that we would associate with humans and humans doing. So what I wanted was to show the disruptive power of this technology. Disruptive technologies are technologies that literally change the paradigms of the world. Yeah, you mentioned in the beginning the the steam engine. For scientists, you can look at the Newton-Einstein paradigm, and from if for us, the younger generation, they can look at the smartphone revolution, the computer revolution. So these disruptive technologies, they change every walk of life in a way that you can't imagine life. So if you go back to the 1800s and you try to imagine life with computers, you won't be able to do that. Yeah. So artificial intelligence is going to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Now, in the second and third poem also speaks about it, but it has a different feel. And I must tell you, I was convinced that it was you who wrote the poem and not AI. So, in particular, how do you think now with AI coming in, would schools become more driven, to look at different ways of teaching, and teachers becoming more directed to teach to the test, or made redundant? How is AI going to fill this, and how is it that you and I who are talking here suddenly are going to become redundant if we don't challenge the future with some real high thinking, with thought provoking ideas? Because AI is so invasive, if I have to use the word, Brother Adil.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be invasive, and if we stick our head down in the ground like an ostrich, we're going to be in for a very uh, bumpy ride in the future, and most probably will be set aside from how the world functions. So what fascinated me in the second and third poem was that AI can acknowledge its lack of emotions. Yeah. So when you read that, it looks like it's human, but then it dawned back to you. No, 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 it's not a human. It's the AI. So it's basically it's recognizing or using whatever data it has been fed with, and the data that is fed to the AI is from humans. So it can just copy that. So basically, it can copy emotions. So this is what we need to understand is computers can come to a level of imitating emotions that it's difficult to separate imitation from reality. I'll talk about that later also. But
Mhm.
do computers have emotions? This requires a separate session, because it's a very detailed and it has some philosophical outlook to it. Yeah. So what are emotions, and can computers have emotions?
In
That's a
fact,
separate
yes,
discussion.
in fact, after reading the book, I've come to realize that computers can be programmed to understand human emotion. And really, it's a topic on its
Yes.
own for another time. Now, machine learning is a branch of AI, as you explain it, and I appreciate it. Now, given this, how do you see this influencing the knowledge economy of schools? Because curriculum design, delivery, and value based learning are part of curriculum design. It is part of the day-to-day running of the schools, and it also differentiates one school from the other. So, yeah, how do you see AI influencing the knowledge economy?
You can look at it in three ways. Yeah. So first, you asked about curriculum design. Yeah. So there are many AI tools that are being developed in the education sector, and the power of AI is to personalize the experience of education, which unfortunately our conventional classroom cannot, because the over standardization of education has resulted in the teacher just being a delivery tool, and the personal aspect of each student is compromised. And what I've noticed from my own teaching experience is that the some students are good at some things, and they are struggling with other things, and the teacher is not able to personalize their educational experience, because he has to control the whole class together. And because of that, the intelligent students or differently abled students, they are suffering. So what AI would do in curriculum design is it would tailor the curriculum delivery and design according to the student. So for example, it would be basically, if you're struggling with in mathematics simultaneous linear equations, it's going to give you more questions. It's going to give you more practice on that. And if you can do all those questions in the first go, it will jump you on to the next chapter. So that's the way education can be personalized. Yeah. The second thing, what it can do is machine learning uses large data sets. So currently people do use that, but the feedback loop is not very strong in education. So all this data that you get, it is going to drive the AI in making decisions, curriculum decisions for the future. Second is delivery. So and educational delivery, there are many softwares that are now currently being used, and it's linked to the curriculum design thing. But what it does at the core is it's personalizing the educational experience. Yeah. So there are intelligent tutors. They're called artificial intelligent tutors. So there's this website in the UK, aitutor.co.uk. So you can go hire a tutor who's going to teach you mathematics, and there's no human involved. So it's a very
Absolutely. At Al Falah College, we've got, paper video on a similar basis, and then you have Century AI on the same pattern where your tutor, who's a robot, actually puts you on on a learning trajectory based on your strengths, weaknesses, and your own threats and the opportunities your own mind has to develop. Now, the questions above comes out of what you describe as deep learning, and deep learning is ignored, right? Because it frightens headmasters, it frightens the people who are in education and those on the top, especially in government circles. So take us on a brief journey to understand what is deep learning, because it's so important, especially in this dynamic time.
okay. So the first thing I would like to clarify is learning. The word learning. You see, on a human level, and especially as Muslims, learning is a sacred thing, and it has this spiritual dimension to it also. Yeah. So that learning, which has a direction in that gives you direction in life, is something separate. And when we use words, it comes with all the background and the baggage with it. So when we talk about deep learning, remember, it's a computer algorithm. At the end of the day, it's not the learning that we associate ourselves with in the classroom, which has this spiritual dimension to it. But deep learning in AI is basically done on unstructured data, such as images, videos, and natural text also. And it uses neural networks, as I've explained in the book. Neural networks are basically layers of networks, which each time you can tweak the parameters, and they get closer and closer to the answer. And this is how every cycle they train. So currently we have Chat GPT 3 and 3.5. I think it has 170 billion parameters that it looks at. And Chat GPT 4 is going to be released next week, most probably by Microsoft. And it will have
If I, if I
100.
could, if I could come in here, because I want to tie in something else, as I see Dr. Seema Imam asked the question, and I think it's important to tie it in with deep
Yeah.
learning. In today's world, there is a sense of panic and struggles to create the school policy for the student use of AI. What's
Yeah.
your advice to elementary and high school students? Now, it's tying in deep learning because you've made us understand how learning is sacred, and at the same time making us understand the database of how deep learning actually, uh, you know, uh, develops and shapes and molds the thinking. Just to, if you can, tie the two together, brother.
Yeah. Uh, this would okay. Then I'll tell you. It's going to be a bit of a long thing. My 2 cents on
Yeah.
education. See, my educational experience is very unorthodox. Yeah, so I taught in a conventional school for 6 months only in the orthodox classroom. Then my main experience comes from in madrasa setting where we were teaching physics, chemistry, O levels, Cambridge curriculum, but the classroom and everything was unconventional, unorthodox. Yeah, I had the whole autonomy to teach how I wished. Yeah, so that way you get to know that our educational system. Uh, there are two types of I'll tie artificial intelligence into this also. Yeah, so there are two types of criticisms of the modern educational system. So one I call the quality of instruction, and the second I call relevancy. Yeah, although their frontiers overlap, but uh, quality of instruction is the most famous one, where people say that we're not teaching in an effective way. There's no efficiency in the system. This includes outdated pedagogy, learning environment issues, technology integration, administrative issues, and if you go to the government sector, it includes corruption, student absences. This is all the quality side. The other side, which I think is more relevant because of the forum, also Islamic schools, is the relevancy of the curriculum. Yeah, and for this, the two people I think that have presented this case the best. One was the late Sir Ken Robinson, and the other one is Conrad Wolfram, who's written a very good book, The Maths Fix. I've done a review of that book, The Maths Fix, and it's a very good book. So what they tell you is that, you see, teaching is to train us for the real life. Yeah, but what our curriculum does is there's a big disconnect with what happens in the world and what we teach. I'll give you a simple example. When I teach mathematics to grade 4 students, we teach HCF and LCM. They can compute an HCF and LCM. Or if you ask them what that is, what does it do? Where is it used? Mathematics is a representation of reality. If the student cannot understand that, he can do some computation. The computer will do it for you. The software is that can do. So what he needs to understand is, how do I use this knowledge? Yeah. So relevancy is one of the biggest issues that we face, and artificial intelligence is at the heart of it. You see, for example, I tell you, if I in history lesson I tell them to memorize all the history of, for example, Pakistan or the subcontinent, the AI can tell you and give you insights far better than that. So what we need is to develop critical thinking skills, which result in individual thought, unique thought, and that is where you can circumvent AI, because AI will be based on human input, and if you come up with something novel, that's not in their data set.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to build on that, because many a times when we look at reading a book, we actually get in the mind of the author and we get to feel the feelings and the sense and the tone. Now, with artificial intelligence, really, if you put your name on a book, you think more than Shakespeare's intelligence on the brightest. This guy is more later, right? So, the thing that comes to my mind is what interested me was the concept of computer vision, right? Because it has a vast field, and medicine, engineering, science is all connected. In science, it studies behavior. Computer vision in science studies behavior of objects, and it identifies objects in a person's environment that they cannot see. The computer actually visualizes that for them. My interest at this point in time is how will this play out in education if it ever does? Your thinking on this would be important to consider because AI has actually given, the real image of the brain and the heart and the lungs and how it operates. Amazing. And that it's helping the people in medicine so much. When this is going to come into education, I think we're in for a revolution.
Yeah.
Not only the 4I revolution, but it's going to be something very unique and I would say frightening if we don't engage it with understanding, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, my engineering half will answer the first, and then my education half will answer. So
Sure.
computer vision is basically the sensory input that a computer has, and the vision part is basically a software that tries to recognize those images. Yeah. So if you can train the computer to recognize a dog, the next time a dog passes by, it's going to tell you there's a dog there. So people can use this, and this may surprise you. It has already been done. Yeah. So I'll name a few. There's something called Moxie, Moxie. Then there's Myco 3, Miko 3. And then there's Lavot, Lovot, Aibo, Aibo. And then there's Luna, Lona. What are these? These are personal learning robots. So you can give them to your kids rather than playing with their pets who can't speak. They'll talk to these robots, and these robots will teach them what? Literacy, phonetics, second languages, uh, general knowledge, scientific questions. You see, I've also written a book on in Urdu on creativity. Yeah, it's under publishing right now. So in that the what I've found is that students, especially kids, are very curious, and our institutionalized learning environments, they kill that curiosity. They try to square the circle, and the questions, a 2 year old 3 year old child asks 100 questions, by the time he's in his O levels, goes to zero. And this way, these personalized robots, they will be answering these questions, and they're prompting more questions. And the learning that happens through questions can never happen through anything else. They say a swal nisfal ilm, that the questioning is half of knowledge, because the right questions. And so as I told you, my unorthodox teaching experience, my rule in class was for everyone has to ask a question. If you can't ask a question, you're not supposed to be in the class. and uh,
Absolutely.
and I'll tell you some questions that they ask were just, so the student who's done his hifz is done class 5 from a very small remote village in Pakistan, first physics class. And the first question he asks me, that Ustaji, if we take a helicopter and go up in the air and throw a bucket of water down, will that come as one single drop or as multiple drops? And I'm
Wow.
looking at his face.
Question.
This is an 11-year-old. So this the question pedagogy is very, very strong, and AI is going to give that a personal touch to every student. So you'll have a personal learning companion in the house, and you can talk to it. It can learn your emotions. It can learn your although it might sound a bit Orwellian to some people, because of the data and all that involved, privacy issues. But at the end of the day, it's a tool. You can use it to enhance learning.
Now that I've heard that, I'm actually more intrigued to imagine a future without computers.
Yeah.
I could, for a moment, before AI, really, I could imagine a dystopian future, where computers would have a very limited view and limited range because of how man in the dystopian world does some crazy things. But now with 4IR and AI, I'm convinced that computers are going to become more integral and interlinked to almost everything we do and say. Now, Chat GPT has taken the world by storm. It is causing havoc in the classroom. And it has changed how authors are writing their own histories, It has changed how children are writing their own speeches. So discuss why this is explained in detail in the book, and what is our defense mechanism to combat, to combat that, so that we don't become lazy thinkers.
Yeah.
And I want that to be stressed. We're becoming lazy thinkers. We're thinking of prompt words to get AI to give a response, but we're not thinking. And my fear is that if a Muslim is not thinking, he's not going to may have tadabbur on the Quran. He's not going to have thinking on the Hadith, and similarly, he's not going to think on the beautiful life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as something to ponder on. This is just a thought that came to my mind when I read the chapter on Chat GPT. Your comments, sir.
So that chapter was not on Chat GPT; it was on GPT. So GPT is the
GPT, sorry, GPT, yeah.
GPT is the model behind the machine, the natural language processing learning model. So, very good question, and I'll just tell you that at the end of the day, AI is a tool. Yeah. So if I take you back into the past, and when horses were being overcome by steam engines, so people would think, if we lose our control on horses, sometimes in the future we may become, slaves of these cars. They'll take us and we'll become lazy. And the other way of looking at it was, if you use these cars, you can go and explore places where the horse could not go. Yeah. So it's the thought process behind using these tools that's important. If we are very skeptical of these tools. These tools that, like when the calculator was invented, many people say, people will become stupid because they won't be able to multiply by three, or they won't remember the tables. But now, who uses that? Oh, I'll take you back to your schooling. We look at spellings, yeah. So I was dyslexic in my school. I still struggle with spelling sometimes. That dyslexia comes back. That does not hamper anything now because everything is done through computers, yeah. So
Yeah.
that era of hitting the student and making his spellings correct, we're talking about another era now. So what we need to do is we need to embrace this, and we need to direct our next generation of learners to use this tool to achieve what the previous generations could not achieve. Yeah.
I have a question that has come from Amina Murad. Alhamdulillah, our feed is quite lively this afternoon. The issue is always the same: how to prepare ourselves for a technology takeover, and develop a fiqh of using using the tool before it is too late. Your thoughts on that question, because it's so imperative to think about. And again, going to the issue of GPT 3, how it actually frames so much of what we're going to do, because the background is us feeding it the data, but the data has a certain prejudice, and the prejudice is ours, or the discrimination is ours, and the distinguishing feature is ours, because we're inputting. A robot on its own is dead. So yeah.
So the question is very good. I'll address that question. Before that, this point of yours where you enter the data and that's what the AI is going to give you. So this is where my critical thinking, individual thought comes into play. That is going to be the currency of the future. Because if you think beforehand, before in the past, anybody who could do some engineering problems would become an engineer because he could solve things. Now the computer is going to do that. So
Mhm.
what's the unique selling point of that person? What's the way he can make a contribution to society? That is going to be through individual critical thought, and that has to be part of this the syllabus. The way that we are teaching today is like Sir Ken Robinson used to say: two plus two. You need to get the answer. The answer is at the back of the book. You're not supposed to look at it. So that's not how the real world functions. If the answer is in the back of the book, why am I not go look? If I have a problem and somebody says I have the answer in my hand, but I'm not going to tell you, so what are you going to say to it? Why are you wasting my
I,
time?
of
So
course.
so we need to rethink the way we do that. And this question by our sister Amina Murad is very, very important. Every time we are late, any technology that comes in, you're always late. Yeah, because there's always this inertia to change, and that keeps us out of the revolution, especially in the past 400 years. The Muslims have been late on all these technologies. So there is a need to develop an ethics around it, and develop, as she's called it, a fiqh around it. But we need to do something as soon as possible. Time is running out, and these tools that they're coming every day. And imagine, from 170 billion parameters of ChatGPT today is going to go 100 trillion the next week. Next week, I'm
Mhm.
talking.
Exponential.
Yeah, and
Exponential.
we won't be able to catch the change. The rate of change is increasing every minute.
Absolutely. So, I want to just digress for a moment. I heard one person, tell me that in America they are growing meat in a petri dish, you know, because AI has got to that level of having to identify how the genes and the chromosomes can be grown outside the body. Meat can be grown outside the body of a buffalo, and you have a wonderful steak on your table, So what is the thick ruling on that? How do we word it, But it's for another time. So you know, learning of AI concerns me. And you addressed the matter where you said critical thinking has to be taught in the classroom. Critical thinking has to be part of the management of schools. The fact that the aim is to build computers that can absorb knowledge rather than be programmed tells me that perceptions can become essential truths. Perceptions can become essential truths
Yeah.
because of how programs can feed into how computers can be programmed. However, there's a positive spin to it. Can you explain that to us, please?
Okay. So again, just a reminder. It's a tool, yeah. So it's the
Yeah.
way you use it that's going to give you a competitive edge in life, or as a whole nation, as a ummah, if we use it the right way. So, but the first thing you need to understand is the limitations. Yeah, uh, it can't give you anything novel. It can't give you anything out of the box. Or I changed this out of the box term to out of the algorithm. It can't give you anything out of the algorithm. So you
Yeah.
need to be vigilant of that. So whatever goes out of the algorithm is where our brains should be working. Why waste time on something that the algorithm can give you? Yeah. And let's not forget, at the end of the day, it is plagiarism recognizing tool. uh, as Noam Chomsky, the famous uh, philosopher and linguist, he says that it's a high tech plagiarism tool, ChatGPT 3. So if you look at it, and then this is another philosophical debate of how human language is, and what language is, and how it's related to thought. But for our own practical purposes, if we do not understand right now how the computers function, how AI functions, is going to take over us. And whoever knows how it functions is going to use this tool against us, and we'll be at the receiving end rather than the giver's end.
Subhanallah that you mentioned that, because in the book you talk of artificial social intelligence, social artificial intelligence, put it that way. That frightened me because computers can be programmed to predict behavior,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm going to repeat it to the audience. Computers can be programmed to predict behavior. Now, in the world where we are networked on our social media, where we have become so addicted to it. In fact, TikTok is putting out so many videos per second that people who are addicted to it need counseling. So it is this prediction of behavior that worries me, that concerns me, but also gives me a positive understanding that we can predict, certain things that human beings can do, which can be harmful. but at the same time, it can be used negatively. I mean, look at the military complexes of the world. It is so huge, and artificial intelligence plays a huge part there. And that's my point, you know. In your writing of the book, in your prompting of artificial intelligence to write the book, how did you sort of come up with this, and how did you register with this understanding of social artificial intelligence that Marvin Minsky coined?
So, as you said, it's used in warfare. I just read a report yesterday where the National Security Agency of the United States was using machine learning in their drone program, and they use this mobile phone metadata, the data that your mobile phone transmits to the tower. So that includes the model of your phone, the location, who's the phone registered against, etc. And for 10,000 people, they trained the model on seven terrorists. So seven true answers on 10,000. And that tells you how weak the algorithm was. And that resulted in, people being flagged as terrorists, being bombed in the tribal areas of Pakistan, in Yemen, and all over the world, just because of a false positive. Yeah, because they were they were flagged up as terrorists. So this the aspect of social artificial intelligence is basically how we can make AI interact with humans in a way that it is human. So I've told you about the learning robots, personalized learning robots that are currently in the market. You can buy them, although they're a bit expensive, but they're going to get cheaper by the day. Uh, what we can do with this is it's a tool. You can use it. For example, you mentioned with people with speech disabilities. So everyone that has a speech disability has a unique way of communicating. It's different from everyone else. You can have the AI learn the personalized way of each person, and that's going to make his life very easy. But the issue is spending on military is far more lucrative for governments rather than spending on this, and that's where the ethics and all that comes in. So we need to have discussions about how AI has to be incorporated into society. Otherwise, it's going to go the way it is going. We're in for an Orwellian future.
You know, when I read Orwell's book, 1984, and the
Yeah.
Big Brother scenario, I thought it's something, it is something that will never happen. And in my years of studying, our lecturer told us, be careful of what you think the future might be. It is planning of people behind machines. So when you look at AI and the planning behind it, are you seeing a world that's going to be more dependent on computers, and menial tasks are going to become redundant because computers will be doing it, and because of that we're going to have mass unemployment, we're going to have mass unemployment of intellectual capacity people like doctors, lawyers, because retina scans, for example, can be done via AI. So the planning of AI is something so vast.
So this people have written a lot about this. So people are scared about this, and that's why you can see in the book when I asked the AI software to tell me list down the what the risks of artificial intelligence are. It lists one of this as mass unemployment or job market disruption, and that is a case that we need to look into. However, as I've told you, that whenever some disruptive technology comes in, what it does is it shifts the labor market to in another direction. So, for example, when the steam engine came in, people who were rearing horses or were horse riders, or they lost their job. But with AI, the issue is it is going to be across the board. So it's a technology that's going to change everything. So now doctors, they just they feed the X-rays into a computer, and the computer tells you using artificial intelligence. It tells you that the diagnosis, and you can even look at cancer and all these diseases at a very early stage now, by MRIs, X-rays, all these reports. So that is going to be an issue. And what I can see right now is that our education system is not uh, you know uh, flexible enough to understand and to incorporate these changes. And we were still educating, like when I was in university, whatever I was taught in my final year as the cutting edge technology, the moment I was in the job market, it was all outdated.
Look at
So
that.
yeah, so the again the issue of change, so exponential, that to keep the curriculum relevant is going to be a big challenge.
As an educator myself, I really enjoy what you're telling me, but also at the back of my mind is, a huge ghost telling me that, if you don't change, I'm going to shock you out of your wits. Because education, we have made it redundant because we're
Yeah.
stuck in this industrial revolution of the spinning jenny and afterwards, that everything is on the production line. Now, there's something more that gets me on my edge, and that is, how computers are being programmed to solve human-like problems. And I'm very clear on that. Computers are programmed to solve human-like problems. I mean, that is just fascinating because it makes me understand that eventually mom and dad are going to become obsolete in my life if they're not going to remain relevant to my worries, to my anxieties, to my fears. And this whole LGBTQ plus movement also takes a different spin when a computer is going to tell you how to solve your sexual orientations. Take it away.
So that's I think your question is related to the social artificial social intelligence aspect again. So the ethical aspect is going to be an issue, and that is where we need education. You see, at the end of the day, the AI is going to churn out what people have written. It's not going to make anything novel out of the algorithm, as I said. So if you feed it all the LGBTQ pro information, that's what is going to churn out. So all these companies that own these chat bots and all, chat GPT, OpenAI, they have a big ethical responsibility also to keep the the future balanced. Because when we were growing up, everyone used to ask Google these questions. Yeah, and then there's 100 websites, that 10 would be Muslim websites, or would be anti, or would be pro whatever I'm looking at. But now everyone's going to go to this because, as you know, Microsoft Bing, the search engine, has incorporated ChatGPT into it. So now that the search engine of the future is going to be, with AI. It's going to tell you what questions you ought to ask and what the answers are going to be, and what's right and what's wrong. And that is where our
SubhanAllah.
value system and all that comes into play. That if you waste all your students' time in telling him, how 3,543 can be multiplied by 5,642, and you don't teach him your values, and the whole day he's just doing computation, which a computer can do itself and do far better and quicker, uh, then we are in for a very bleak future.
Alhamdulillah, we're coming to the end of the program. It's roughly 54 minutes into the program, and we need to sort of round up. Really, this book intrigued me. It got me thinking on many levels, and it also made me understand how more the teacher must be a teacher, how more he must expect from the pupil the deeper thinking and bring it to life in the classroom, so that you engage with the child on a moral platform, on moral grounds, and you teach values which you yourself enact. The teacher must not be a robot, must not be a mimicker of values and traditions. Having said that, my brother, what are your closing remarks on this book and the need, I would say, the need for people to actually to read it, Brother Adil?
If whoever reads it, I can tell you what his first thought is going to be is how is this possible? How can a computer write this? And that's how how it was structured. The poem and all the book is structured in a way to jolt us out of our slumber, as I said. So if you can read the book, Bismillah, you should read it. And the main takeaway is that for our next generation, we need to do something now. We can't just think and sit on it, because if we don't act now, the change is so exponential that we'll be outdated before we understand what happened to us. And at the end,
To the
also
listeners, yeah, carry on,
one
sir.
it's the and we should understand at the end of the day, a computer is a computer and a human is a human. Yeah. And that connection, the social connection that teacher has, the values and all that's going to become more important now, because if there is a vacuum from the teacher's end, people will fill it. First they used to go to Google, now they'll have personalized assistants. And if we give that vacuum to the students, the values vacuum, we won't have a generation of ours in the next generation.
Brother Adil, Jazakallah khair for coming onto the program, and do stay on until I wrap up the show in this last 3 minutes. Beloved people out there, after reading this book, I've realized the dynamic of teaching within me. That if I continue to teach the way I teach, I'm not going to really mean much to the child. Similarly, if you and I continue in the way that we do our normal teaching in the classroom and even lecturing, you are going to become meaningless very soon. It's frightening, but that's the reality. When I looked at the seerah and when I looked at this book, I got to listen to Martin Links on a reading book, on a reading sort of an audio book. And I've come to understand how great Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam actually was, is, and will be, in that his legacy remains profound up to today, even though there has been an excellent exponential progress in technology. What is it? It was his character. It was his understanding of people. It was his understanding of how to connect people. Remember, Islam spread through the nature of people's akhlaq, through the nature of people's character. He embellished social events. He understood the dynamic of people in a world that is fast changing then and now. So you and I have to look at the world we're living in and become more the man, more the woman, become more real, become more personal, disengage from lots of social media, and make a point, like how my brother Adil and I did over the airwaves, shall I say, or over through artificial intelligence. We actually connected on something deeper and personal that he has written. And today I think we're friends. If I have to pick up the phone and have a chat with Adil, it's going to be a lengthy one. I mean, we spoke to you over a program called the Reading Circle. But if Adil and I were to meet now at a cafe corner in Pakistan, inshallah, one day, we're going to have a long chat. If I have to travel to the UK, we're going to have a long chat. Thanks to artificial intelligence, thanks to social network. But it is the depth of your conversation with people. It is the depth of your understanding of what people have written that's going to give you the edge. And really, that has been a fascinating book review this afternoon on GAIS Reading Circle. I must say, I've been intrigued from the moment I've read the book. And I want to conclude and bring this whole point, bring the circle to a close, so to speak. Brother Adil, it has been remarkable talking to you. I've learned so much, and my day ends positively now because I can write in my little book if I want to. Today I've learned to be more relevant and dynamic. Jazakallah khair to Brother Adil and to the host behind GAIS Reading Circle to make this happen. This is your host, Abdullah Suji, signing off. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair again.
Yeah.